seeing the Lord as he is, seeing something so much more wonderful than ourselves, humbles us to ask, what is man that you are even mindful of him? Psalm 8. What do I really deserve? And the humble person realizes when they look at the cross of Jesus that they've already received so much more than they deserve. So you see, the gospel of Jesus Christ brings us low and lifts us up. It brings us low because it leads us to confess that we're sinners, that we have no hope except in God's mercy. And we could do nothing to rescue ourselves, but are wholly dependent on Jesus. We don't deserve anything. But simultaneously, the gospel lifts us up because it demonstrates how much the Lord loves us, that he would give everything, that he who was rich for our sake became poor and suffered, that by his poverty we might become rich, that all the glories of heaven would be ours. Now, this humbling is not a one-time thing. It's a lifelong struggle. As the Holy Spirit reveals to us more and more the wonder of what Christ has done for us in his cross and resurrection, we're clothed in humility. That sounds wonderful, but it's often very unpleasant and painful. The perfect picture of this is in The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, one of the Chronicles of Narnia. Sorry for those of you who aren't C.S. Lewis fans, referencing him a lot. There's a scene in that book in which this prideful little boy named Eustace Scrubb is turned into a dragon. And so he attempts to scratch at his scales and remove them. But on his own, he could only scratch at the surface. But then Aslan, the lion, who represents Jesus in the story, shows up and he says, "You'll have to let me do it." Eustace, recounting the story later, says this: "The first tear he made was so deep that I thought it had gone right into my heart. And when he began pulling the skin off, it hurt worse than anything I've ever felt. But he peeled the beastly stuff right off, just as I had tried to do myself, but only then it hadn't hurt." You see, for pride to be rooted out of us, we need to be cut to the heart. And it may hurt terribly. It may look like we're being killed, but it's God graciously saving us. The Apostle Paul writes similarly of the remedy for his pride in 2 Corinthians 12. He says, "To keep me from being conceited, I was given a thorn in the flesh." To keep me from being conceited. There's a period in my own life that I look back on as a sort of crucible for the Lord to root out my pride. God used a set of difficult circumstances to awaken in me the reality of the pride that I had, to show me that I was attributing to myself that which was from God. I was thinking that I deserved what I had, and I deserved that which I didn't yet have. And when the Lord revealed these things, I remember being on the verge of weeping every time I heard the Bible read, which was really awkward because I was in seminary at the time. And so that was quite a bit. Every word seemed to cut straight to my heart. I'm grateful and will always be grateful for God doing that to me, but it had to hurt terribly. Again, there are two kinds of people: those who are humble and those who will be humble. Or perhaps we're some of both. This is an ongoing process for me. How do we humble ourselves so that we don't have to be humbled? By keeping our eyes on what Jesus has done for us.